I'm missing a whole part of me. That's my sister and that's my niece. We don't know where they're at.
A plea for information about Meshay Melendez and Layla Stewart. The Vancouver mother and daughter have been missing for more than a week.
It's been since last Sunday since anybody heard, seen, or talked to her.
On Wednesday morning, the Clark County Sheriff's Office got a call from someone who was walking on this rural road in Washougal. The caller described what they believed to be two life-sized mannequins down an embankment near a creek. But when deputies arrived on scene, they discovered two bodies. A Washington State Patrol forensics team joined the investigation, collecting evidence and speaking with neighbors on Southeast Wooding Road, which was roped off for hours.
February 8th, 1996. The world would make way for Meshay Melendez. She would be brought into this world by her mother, Nicole, and her father, Miguel Melendez. At the time of her birth, her mother was only 15 years old and refers to the situation as she was a child herself and that they were raised together. In her early years, Meshay was someone with a bright smile, someone whose laughter could fill a building. While in school, she was a great student. She was someone who had a number of achievement awards. She was also athletic. She began running track in elementary, a sport that she would continue on throughout her school years. She's described as someone with a great personality, someone who also had a goofy side. She knew how to have fun and put a smile upon your face.
And they dance like this. On Scooby-Doo, did they did this? And then they did this. Yes, they saw.
Before you know it, the joyous child was now a teenager and embarking on a journey into adulthood. Around the age of 19, she would be dating a guy named Stewart. Through this relationship, a baby would be conceived. For Meshay, like any other young mother, things were a bit scary. She was about to welcome someone that she was now responsible for, but on the other side, she was also happy. The thought of being a mother would easily outweigh the fear. During her pregnancy, her mother would be there to support her, and also her father. Her father was elated. He was happy to be welcoming another grandchild into this world, but sadly, her father wouldn't be here to see the birth. On June 25th of 2015, her father would be on the road that morning, and while driving, he had seen a car disabled. Her father was someone with a big heart, so his immediate thought was to help. So he gets out of his vehicle and he tries to push this other car to safety. They say that no good deed goes unpunished, and for this situation, it kind of proved that statement true. While her father was trying to help push this disabled vehicle to the side of the road, he would be struck by an SUV. This hit would in fact be fatal. While Meshay was preparing to be a mother, she would now have to take on the stress of losing her father. September 21st, 2015. This would be the date when Layla Stewart would first greet the light. Upon her birth, she was now more than just Meshay's child. She was someone who brought healing. She would make the mourning process just a little bit easier. Fast forward to the year of 2023, and Meshay is now 27 years old. Her daughter Layla is now 7, going on 8. By now, the relationship between Javante and Meshay had long fizzled out. She was now dating a guy who goes by the name of Kirkland Warren. Kirkland was a guy from the Pine Bluff, Arkansas area. Around the year of 2020, he would move from the Pine Bluff area to Vancouver, Washington. It isn't clear exactly when he started dating Meshay, but one thing is clear. In the beginning, things were okay. Meshay would often take to social media and brag about her love for him. They were the type of couple where their personalities matched one another. But like we all know, people that are too much alike never tend to make it. And for them, this would be the case. Their relationship would eventually sour and head downhill. By March of 2023, Meshay and Layla would go missing. And along with their disappearance, the truth about the relationship between Meshay and Kirkland would come to the light. From the outside looking in, they looked like your normal couple. But in reality, they were far from it. December 13th, 2022. On this day, Meshay and Kirkland would get into an argument. During this argument, Meshay would ask Kirkland to leave her apartment. Kirkland then decides to leave. But when he was leaving, he noticed that Meshay was looking out of her balcony window to make sure he did in fact pull off. When he sees her looking out of the window, he gets infuriated. And from his car, he would grab his weapon. And he would then aim towards the window and begin firing. Luckily for Meshay, he misses and eventually drives off. After this incident, Meshay was willing to look past it. She loved this guy after all and was willing to work on it. But it wouldn't take long before he would act out again. On December 23rd of 2022, they would once again get in an argument. But this time, he places his hands on her. Fed up, Meshay then reports it to the authorities, along with the incident that occurred 10 days prior. Kirkland Warren wouldn't be arrested immediately. Instead, the authorities would decide to start an investigation. At that point, it was his word against hers, and they needed a little bit more to secure a warrant. The investigation would drag on for over a month, but by February 3rd of 2023, they would interview one of the friends of Meshay. This friend would tell the authorities that she was in fact a direct witness to what transpired. Now armed with a witness, they have enough to draw up a warrant. So that's what they do. But then something happens. On February 17th of 2022, Meshay Melendez would make her way down to the police station. While there, she proceeds to tell the authorities that she made it all up. None of it ever happened. He never had a weapon and he never got physical. She would go on to tell them that both her and the witness had drug issues, as well as mental health issues. She pleaded with the authorities to drop the charges and assure her that he won't be arrested. Well, guess what? The authorities saw this suspicious and they weren't buying it. And on March 2nd of 2023, 27-year-old Kirkland Warren would be taken into custody. By March 7th of 2023, his case would go before a judge. In a case like this, the victim needs to show up to testify in order for the charges to go through. Well, Meshay doesn't show up. Neither does the alleged witness. Due to the circumstances surrounding the case, the charges would be dismissed. On March 8th of 2023, Kirkland Warren would once again be a free man. 10 days after being set free, Meshay and Layla would be reported missing by Meshay's mother. After finding out that Layla hadn't been to school in a week and not able to reach her daughter in the same time span, she panics and she calls the authorities. During the investigation, the detectives would learn that their last known sighting was on March 12th of 2023. They learned that the night prior, Meshay and Kirkland came over to one of Meshay's friends' home and they dropped off Layla. That way they could go out partying. This friend would tell the authorities that on the morning of March 12th of 2023, Kirkland came and picked up Layla from the apartment, and when he picked her up, Meshay was in the vehicle. She says that she went down to the car and attempted to speak with Meshay, but she was passed out. Kirkland then drives off with Meshay and Layla, and since then, no one has heard from them. Upon being reported missing, the city goes on high alert. They begin hanging posters and spreading the word on social media. On March 19th of 2023, exactly one day after her disappearance, Meshay Melendez's mother would locate her vehicle. It would then be towed down to headquarters because it's now considered evidence. For the next couple of days, the search would continue, but there was no progress. Even after interviewing family and friends, they didn't have a clue as to their whereabouts.
Yeah, Brittany, I spoke to them within the last hour or so, and tell you what, they just light up talking about Meshay and Layla, the two described as having so much energy and being the life of the party, and that really explains why family is so distraught over their disappearance. The two were last seen in this neighborhood near Northeast 77th Avenue and Vancouver Mall Drive in Vancouver, of course. And the person who was with them was Meshay's boyfriend, who is now a person of interest in this case.
March 22nd, 2023. A passerby is driving in Washougal, Washington. They notice two odd-looking objects in a thick brush. They describe these objects as mannequins to the authorities. But just to be sure that it was what they thought they were seeing, they decided to call it in. So the authorities go to the scene to check it out. Upon arriving, they would immediately notice that these were no mannequins. What they were looking at was the bodies of two victims. The description: one adult female. The adult female had noticeable wounds to the head region. The second victim was a young female who sustained an injury to the left temple. The victims would be identified as 27-year-old Meshay Melendez and 7-year-old Layla Stewart. This is no longer a missing persons case, but rather a homicide investigation. An autopsy would detail that both victims suffered gunshot wounds. Meshay Melendez sustained 2 injuries in the head region, while Layla Stewart suffered 1 in the head region. But to add insult to injury, the medical examiner would determine that Layla Stewart was also violated. Shortly after the investigation began, the authorities would locate the vehicle of Kirkland Warren. While conducting a search warrant, they would find evidence of blood, as well as .22 caliber shell casings. If that evidence wasn't enough, they had collected DNA evidence from Layla. The DNA collected was a direct match to 27-year-old Kirkland Warren. Kirkland Warren would be booked and charged with first-degree murder. In the end, 27-year-old Kirkland Warren would plead guilty to the charges. He would be sentenced to life in prison. The prosecution alleges that sometime between March 12th and March 13th, he once again got in an argument with Meshay, but this time he snaps, and he ends the life of his girlfriend, as well as taking Layla. After he committed this act, he then took Meshay's phone and transferred $4,200 from her account into his. As far as a motive, I guess there really isn't one. At least, not one that's concrete. We can only speculate because, with him pleading guilty, more details didn't come out in court. Listening to this story, people are now probably thinking, why did she keep going back to this guy? He showed his true colors and she just couldn't get enough of him. Although that statement is true, the justice system failed her and everyone else way before this act was committed. At the time of taking the life of Meshay Melendez and Layla Stewart, Kirkland Warren was already out on bond for prior murder charges. On December 17th of 2017, Kirkland Warren was riding with a passenger. This passenger was his friend, a guy who went by the name of Curtis. While in this vehicle, Kirkland would grab his weapon and fire 1 shot. He then took his friend's body and dumped him on the side of the road. The motive behind it? Well, Kirkland said that his friend wouldn't stop asking for money, and that's why he did it. In the year of 2018, Kirkland Warren would bond out on those charges, and while he was a free man, they didn't equip him with a GPS tracking device. He would eventually leave Pine Bluff, Arkansas, and head to Washington. While in Washington, he meets Meshay Melendez and ultimately claims the life of her and her daughter. But the truth is, they should have never met. He should have already been behind bars for the charges he was facing. But in the world we live in, it's innocent until proven guilty. And he was allowed bail. And while he was out on bail, He committed the unthinkable. What happened to 27-year-old Meshay Melendez and 7-year-old Layla Stewart is completely heartbreaking. But to think that this could have all been prevented is even worse. There are truly no words for this tragedy. Rest in peace, Meshay Melendez and Layla Stewart. Thank you for being a light for others.